Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, and today we're going to be seeing if b can be written as a linear combination of a1 and a2. So in other words, we're seeing if there will exist in x1, and then when we multiply it by a1, and also in x2, when we multiply it by a2, and when we add them together, can we get b? So to solve this, we're basically solving a system of equations, which is x1 plus 2x2 equals 7, and then negative 2x1 plus 5x2 equals 4, and then negative 5x1 plus 6x2 equals negative 3. So we're actually going to write it into an augmented matrix. So on the left-hand side, we're going to essentially just have the coefficients. So we're going to have 1, negative 2, negative 5, and then 2, 5, 6, and then on the right hand side we're going to use the dashes or a line to separate it, and we have 7, 4, negative 3. So we're going to try to write this into reduced row echelon form to solve for our unknowns, which are x1 and x2. So why don't we get started? So remember, for row echelon form you want this to be 1, which is already 1, and then this to be 1. And then you want everything else above and below these leading ones to be 0. And then this last row should be 0 because 0 should equal 0. So what we're going to do to make this negative 2 a 0 is we can actually do 2 times the first row and then add it to the second row, and then that replaces the second row. 1 times 2 is 2, and then we add it to negative 2, so we get 0. And then moving on to this one, we have 2 times 2 is 4, and then plus 5 is 9. 7 times 2 is 14, and then plus 4 is 8. Moving on to our bottom row, we want to also do the same thing. So we're going to multiply the first row by 5, and then we're going to add it to this third row, and then that's going to replace the third row. So let's do 5 times 1 is 5, and then plus negative 5 is 0. 2 times 5 is 10, plus 6 is 16. And then 5 times 7 is 35, and then minus 3 is 30. So now we eliminated, or we replaced these bottom two numbers with 0. So now what we actually want to do is change this into a 1, and as we can tell, it's pretty straightforward. All we have to do is divide by 9 for the second row. So we're going to get 0, and then 1, and then 2. And then here we have 0, 16, 32. Now what we're going to do is we're going to make this 2 become a 0 because we want it to be reduced row echelon. So what we're going to do is multiply the third row by negative 1/8 and then add it to the first row and replace it. So 0 times negative 1/8 is 0 and then plus 1. 16 times negative 1/8 is negative 2 and then plus 2 gives you 0. And then 32 times negative 1/8 is negative 4 and then plus 7 gives you 3. So now we effectively reduced these two rows, and all we have is this 16, 32 left. So to get rid of this 16 and 32, first we can just simplify it the same way we did for this second row, and we just divide it by 16. And what we're basically going to do is just multiply the second row by negative 1 and add it to this third row and replace it. Or if you just want to think about it as subtracting, it's just subtracting it from the second row and replacing it. So we get 0, 0, 0. So now we basically solved the problem, and we got it into reduced row echelon form. So what this tells us is that x1 equals 3, x2 equals 2, and then obviously 0 equals 0. And 0 does indeed equal 0, so this is not a contradictory statement. So what we found is that if we have 3 times a1, which was 1, negative 2, negative 5, and then plus 2 times a2, which was 2, 5, 6, then we will get b, which was 7, 4, negative 3. And if we check, we do see that 3 plus 2 times 2, 4, this gives you 7. 3 times negative 2, negative 6, plus 2 times 5, 10, this gives you 4. 3 times negative 5, negative 15, plus 2 times 6, which is 12, does indeed give you negative 3. So yeah, thanks for watching.